Okay, today I'm going to talk about how to use a brick hammer, okay? And this brick hammer I'm actually going to use on a block, okay? So we have two different parts to the hammer. We got the front part and we have the back part, okay? And obviously this is a little different than a claw hammer for a carpenter. It has different uses. And today I'm going to show you how you use each one of these, all right? So we have a simple 8-inch block. Now, this part of the hammer, the end here, is used for making cuts. Okay? So I'm going to show you right now how I would perform that. So I'm going to do a common cut that we have all the time. It's called an 11 3/4 because on the other end I'm going to get a 3 3/4. Come on in a little bit closer here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold the tape measure right at 11 3/4. And that's where my hand is going to be at the bottom. And I'm going to run my finger along the edge of the block like this, so that this end always stays at 11 3/4. Then I'm going to take my hammer and hold my hammer right at the end of the tape measure and make a mark on the block, like so. Okay, so now I have a direct mark at 11 3/4 all the way across the block. Flip the block over. Perform the same thing again. Hold it at 11 3/4. And then run it and make a score across the block at 11 3/4. So now I have my mark on both sides. Okay, so now I'm actually going to perform the cut. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the block on this mark all the way along. And the key to this is to listen to the sound that the block makes as I hit it. It's going to actually change sounds. And that's when I know when to flip it. All right? Ready? Here we go. Now, I don't know if you can hear that. Could you hear it? Could you hear it change sounds? Sounds like more hollow. All right, now I'm going to flip it. Listen for that same sound.
Don't hurt your finger. Don't hurt your finger.
I won't. There you go. Perfect cut. Now, obviously, it's not a perfect cut, but for a hammer cut, it will do the job. And because sometimes you're not always going to have a saw on you. All right. So now I'm going to show you what the other part of the hammer is for. Okay, this part of the hammer. Now, obviously, you can use it to hammer nails and stuff like that, which is uncommon for ties. But it's also to perform cuts. This end of the hammer is also to perform cuts. So the next cut I'm going to show you is with this piece of conduit here. Sometimes what you're going to have is a piece of conduit running through the wall, like so. But it has to run through the bottom of the block. So what I have to do is chop out all over the block. Now, what I'm making contact with is this part of the hammer right here, not this. If I hit the block with this part of the hammer, the block is going to simply shatter. And I'm going to try to take the walls of this block and thin them out. So right now the wall of this block is this thick. Now I've just thinned it out to this much. Now I'm going to chop off that end using this part of the hammer, the top now. Okay, so I got my one side. It's very important that the block sits on an even flat surface. I don't want this part of the block hitting something. And now we can run our conduit through the wall. And all we would do is we'd simply take a little bit of mud and smear a little mud around there. You wouldn't even be able to tell. Alright? So that's how you perform hammer cuts, and that's what each end of the hammer does on a brick hammer. Peace.